Magic Kingdom. 9 o'clock at night, late August. The air is 83 degrees and the humidity sits at 85%. You smell vanilla from the bakery on Main Street, salt from the soft pretzel cart, cut grass from the central hub. Somewhere a brass band plays the closing parade. You are standing on land that, in 1965, was a cypress swamp. Within an 80-mile radius of where you stand, Florida entomologists have cataloged 43 species of mosquito. 8 of them carry West Nile, Eastern equine encephalitis, Zika, dengue, or St. Louis encephalitis. And yet you have walked 12 hours through 25,000 acres of reclaimed wetland, and not one mosquito has touched you. No cast member handed you a repellent wipe. No fogger truck rolled past where you were standing. The bakery still smells like vanilla. What you are walking through is a 5-layered defense system, designed by a man from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, who learned mosquito control in Panama in 1956 and refused to forget. By the end of this video, you will know each layer. You will know the $1 secret hidden inside the 4th, and you will know exactly how to replicate the entire architecture on a quarter-acre lawn for under $5. One, the Panama Inheritance. The name on the ferry boat is General Joe Potter. If you have ever crossed Seven Seas Lagoon between the Transportation and Ticket Center and Magic Kingdom, you have ridden a vessel named after him. Most guests assume he was a Disney executive. He was, eventually. But Joe Potter was first a Major General, United States Army Corps of Engineers. West Point, class of 1928. MIT Civil Engineering, 1933. Born July 17, 1905, in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Died December 5, 1988, at Orlando Regional Medical Center, 3 miles from the Magic Kingdom he built. He never wrote a memoir explaining how. He didn't need to. The answer was older than Disney World by 67 years, and it had a body count. In 1881, a French engineer named Ferdinand de Lesseps, fresh from the triumph of the Suez Canal, broke ground on a sea-level cut across the Isthmus of Panama. He brought 20,000 laborers, mostly Caribbean from Antigua, Barbados, and Jamaica, plus French engineers from the École Polytechnique. He brought steam shovels and dynamite. He was wrong about almost everything else. Within 3 months of arrival, 3 out of every 4 French engineers were dead. By 1889, the project had collapsed, and fatalities exceeded 22,000. What killed them was, in the language of the day, miasma, bad air rising from the swamps, malaria, yellow fever. The diseases had names, the vectors did not. That changed in Havana. A Cuban physician named Carlos Finley proposed that yellow fever was transmitted by a specific species of mosquito, the one we now call Aedes aegypti. The medical establishment rejected him for 19 years. In 1900, the United States Army Yellow Fever Commission, led by Major Walter Reedy, finally confirmed Finley through human volunteer trials that would never pass an ethics board today. 2 years later, an Army surgeon named William Crawford Gorgas, born in 1854 in Mobile, Alabama, used Finley's hypothesis to eradicate yellow fever from Havana in 18 months. Not by treating the sick, by draining standing water, screening windows, and pouring kerosene on every puddle in the city. In 1904, Gorgas was sent to Panama, and he was almost fired. Theodore Shantz, chief commissioner of the canal project, wanted Gorgas removed for spending too much money on what he called the doctor's mosquito obsession. President Theodore Roosevelt consulted 2 senior physicians, was told the choice was between Shantz and Gorgas, and chose Gorgas. By December 1905, there was not a single recorded death from yellow fever in the canal zone. The canal opened in 1914. From 1956 to 1960, Joe Potter served as governor of that same canal zone, 4 years inside Gorgas's playbook in an environment far more hostile than anything Florida could produce. He retired from the Army in 1960. In 1964, he became executive vice president of the New York World's Fair. And at that fair, a man with a swamp problem walked up to him. Walt Disney had quietly bought 27,400 acres outside Orlando, twice the footprint of Manhattan, and unbuildable. Disney hired Potter on the spot. Potter moved to Florida in 1965. He had 6 years until opening day. What he built in those 6 years is what you are walking through tonight. 2. Layer 1. The War on Standing Water. Every mosquito in Central Florida is born in a puddle. Culex needs the surface still enough for her egg raft to float. Anopheles needs the surface tension intact so her larvae can lie parallel and breathe. Aedes, the carrier of Zika and dengue, needs nothing more than a bottle cap of standing water for 1 week. Eliminate that water, and you eliminate roughly 80% of the breeding cycle before any predator, any chemical, or any net is required. This was the first lesson Gorgas hammered into Potter in Panama, and it became the foundation of everything Potter did in Florida. Beneath Walt Disney World runs 40 square miles of drainage canals, graded, gravity-fed, hidden under landscaping. Cast members still call them Joe's Ditches. Every fountain on property runs on a pump. Every moat is aerated. Every lagoon has subsurface circulation. The water you see at Disney is always moving because still water is a nursery. Then look up. Look at the conical thatch over Adventureland. Look at Cinderella Castle's spires. Look at Spaceship Earth. And here is the engineering detail nearly every Disney blog gets wrong. Spaceship Earth does not shed water. It absorbs water. The 1-inch gaps between its Alucobond panels feed every drop of rain into a hidden gutter system around the sphere's equator. From there, the water is piped underground into the World Showcase Lagoon. The geodesic ball is a vertical drain. Walk under it in a downpour and you will not get wet because the rain has already disappeared into the architecture. This is hydraulic engineering disguised as a giant silver sphere, and it is repeated on every roofline Potter approved between 1965 and 1971. Three. Layer 2. The Living Army. Standing water that cannot be drained gets stocked. Disney's managed waterways carry Gambusia holbrooki, the eastern mosquito fish. Florida's mosquito control districts have used Gambusia since the 1920s. They are voracious larvae predators. Be honest about the trade-off. Gambusia is now globally listed as an invasive species, and many modern Florida districts have shifted to a more targeted tool called BTI, Bacillus thuringiensis israelensis. BTI is a soil bacterium whose spores produce a toxin that disrupts only the gut lining of dipteran larvae. It is harmless to fish, birds, mammals, bees, and butterflies, and approved for organic agriculture. A $12 packet sold at any Florida hardware store contains a single donut that sterilizes a rain barrel for 30 days. This is the layer that asks the least of Disney. It runs on its own. The fish multiply, the bacterium is replenished after rainfall, the system is self-cleaning. And it is not Disney technology. It is municipal technology. The same technology your county vector district uses. The same technology you can deploy in your own yard tomorrow for under $20. The trick was never the technology. The trick was deciding the technology was worth using before the mosquitoes arrived. 4. Layer 3. The Sentinel Network. Layer 3 is surveillance. and here is where Disney borrowed a technique miners used for 2 centuries, the canary in the coal mine, and turned it into a tropical disease early warning system. Disney keeps sentinel chickens. The Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, formerly the Reedy Creek Improvement District, maintains 8 flocks of hens in coops scattered across non-guest property. The chickens are bitten by the same mosquitoes that would bite you. The difference is that chickens, unlike humans, do not develop clinical illness from West Nile, Eastern equine encephalitis, or St. Louis encephalitis. They develop antibodies, silently, without symptoms, within days of exposure. Every week, a technician draws a small volume of blood from each flock and sends it to a lab. If the lab detects antibodies in coop number 4, the district knows a viremic mosquito was active in coop 4's quadrant within the last 7 days. The 8 flocks function as a geographic intelligence grid covering 25,000 acres in real time. This is not unique to Disney. Volusia County, Walton County, and Manatee County in Florida run identical programs. So do mosquito control districts in California, Texas, and Louisiana. It has been standard American public health practice since the 1990 St. Louis encephalitis outbreak hit Central Florida and forced Reedy Creek to formalize the protocol. Your county may already be running it right now. Your tax dollars may already pay for it. Almost no one in the country knows it exists. Five. Layer 4, the $1 secret. Which brings us to the title of this video, the garlic. You will not find an official Disney statement confirming any of what comes next. What you will find is a claim that has circulated for 2 decades among cast members, suppliers, and, more recently, viral social media. In 2021, a content creator named Michael McBride posted a video stating that his family farm in Central California grows the garlic used on Disney property. Garlic Research Labs of Glendale, California, the company holding U.S. patent 5733552, for a product called Mosquito Barrier, has associated itself with Disney's protocol for years, and multiple former cast members have, in travel blog interviews, described periodic dawn application of a dilute liquid garlic extract along service roads and perimeter landscaping. Disney will not confirm it. Disney will not deny it. What Disney has confirmed in public Reedy Creek operating records is that ultra-low volume insecticide application, ULV truck spraying, is performed twice daily in non-guest areas at hours when no guest is present. Whether the airborne component of that schedule is synthetic pyrethroid, garlic extract, or some rotation of both has never been disclosed. The silence itself is perhaps the most interesting part. A company that publicly trumpets every innovation has chosen, on this topic alone, not to publish a single word. Why a company would choose silence over publicity is left for you to consider. Layer onto that the question of how guests fail to smell anything unusual. Disney's Main Street and several other zones are scented by a proprietary diffuser system called smellitizers, patented olfactory technology that pumps vanilla, fresh-baked cookie, sea salt, and cinnamon into the air at calibrated concentrations. The smellitizers are documented. Whether they also function to mask a low-concentration garlic application is not something Disney has spoken to, but the chemistry would permit it. The human olfactory threshold for vanilla and cinnamaldehyde sits well above the mosquito-disrupting threshold for sulfur compounds. Both could, in principle, coexist in the same column of air. A person walking down Main Street would smell only the bakery. A mosquito flying past would meet a chemical fog she cannot navigate. About that fog. Crush a clove of garlic. Inside the cell, an enzyme called alliinase comes into contact with a precursor compound called alliin. Within seconds, the enzyme produces allicin, a sulfur compound, diallyl thiosulfonate, the molecule responsible for the entire smell. Allicin is volatile and reactive. When sprayed on a surface, it releases sulfur derivatives into the air for several hours. A female mosquito tracks you using an antennal structure called the odorant binding protein, which detects the carbon dioxide plume from your breath and the lactic acid from your skin. Sulfur compounds from garlic do not poison her. They saturate her olfactory receptors. She cannot find you. The mechanism is masking, not killing, which is why it can run continuously without harming pollinators. Bees, butterflies, and dragonflies do not navigate by the same receptor pathway. The peer-reviewed record is robust. The Connecticut Agricultural Experiment Station, in a 2005 study in the Journal of Vector Ecology, recorded significant reductions in mosquito landing rates on foliage treated with garlic-based extract. The Kenya Malaria Control Division ran village-scale field trials in 2002 and recorded reductions in Anopheles activity for 3 to 4 weeks per application. A 2022 paper in Acta Tropica out of the University of Sao Paulo measured larvicidal activity against Aedes aegypti at concentrations as low as 1 part per million. So why have you never seen a Super Bowl ad for garlic mosquito spray? Because allicin is a natural product. Diallyl sulfide is a natural product. Both have been in the chemical literature since the late 1800s. They are public domain. No corporation can patent them. A molecule that cannot be patented is a molecule no company will spend $200 million taking through Phase 3 field trials and EPA registration. Because the moment that pipeline finishes, any competitor manufactures the same molecule and undercuts you. There is no exclusive supply chain. There is no pricing power. There is no 20-year monopoly to recover investment against. So the molecule does not get the trial, the press release, or the shelf space at Home Depot. What gets the shelf space is bifenthrin, permethrin, and deltamethrin, synthetic pyrethroids from Sumitomo, Bayer, FMC, and Syngenta, each a 20-year patent designed for premium pricing. Mosquito Joe charges $80 to $120 per spray every 3 weeks, all season. A homemade garlic spray costs roughly $1 per liter. The reason you have never heard of it is not because someone is hiding it. It is because no one is selling it. Six. Layer 5. When the rules bend. The 2016 Zika moment. Layer 5 is the layer Disney does not advertise. It is the layer that activates when the other 4 are not enough. In the spring of 2016, the Zika virus was tearing through Latin America. By July, locally transmitted Zika had been confirmed in Miami-Dade County. The Centers for Disease Control issued a travel advisory. Pregnant women were told to reconsider Florida. And inside Walt Disney World, something visible changed. Free DEET-based repellent dispensers appeared throughout the parks for the first time in company history. Sentinel chicken sampling, according to sources familiar with the program, was tightened. The quiet integrated system that had handled mosquitoes for 45 years was, for a season, supplemented with something more aggressive and more visible. Whether this represented a true emergency override of a normally lower impact protocol, or simply a public-facing reassurance to guests nervous about a virus they did not understand, has never been clarified by the company. What is documented is that Disney distributed insect repellent free of charge that summer, that they had not done so before, and that within roughly a year, when the Zika emergency abated, the dispensers were quietly removed. The exception illuminated the rule. The rule, articulated by Potter, inherited from Gorgas, and unchanged since 1971. Pest control begins with habitat denial, not with chemical warfare on the guest. 5 layers working continuously, designed so that the guest never sees them. The question is what you do with this information on Monday morning when you walk into your own yard. So walk it. Find the standing water, the clogged gutter, the saucer under the flower pot, the dog bowl no one changed since Tuesday, the recycling bin lid filling with rain. Tip it, drill a hole in it, replace it. That one act of attention eliminates 4/5 of your problem before any spray touches a leaf. If you have a decorative pond, $10 of feeder goldfish from the pet store will eat larvae forever for free. If you have a rain barrel, drop in a BTI donut for $12. Then mix the spray. 3 heads of grocery store garlic, 2 tablespoons of mineral oil or canola oil, 1 teaspoon of unscented dish soap as an emulsifier, 2 cups of water. Crush the garlic, let it sit in the oil for 12 hours so the allicin fully develops. Strain through cheesecloth, add water and soap, decant into a pump sprayer. $1 of inputs covers roughly 200 square meters. Reapply every 14 days or after heavy rain. Be honest about what it does not do. Garlic is a repellent, not an insecticide. It does not replace DEET in malaria-endemic regions. It does not work in high wind. And the Disney garlic claim itself remains attributed to suppliers and reporting, not to an official company statement. Treat it as we treat everything at Oracle Prime, as information you verify by trying it yourself. Conclusion. Walt Disney World will be open tonight. 83 degrees, 85% humidity. The bakery on Main Street will smell like vanilla. The brass band will play the closing parade. 43 species of mosquito will be patrolling the perimeter of 25,000 acres. And once again, almost none of them will reach a guest. A general from Wisconsin made sure of that 60 years ago, using a doctrine an Army surgeon from Alabama wrote in 1904, and a vegetable a farmer in Gilroy, California, has been growing since his great-grandfather arrived from Liguria. None of it was secret. It was simply not for sale. Mix the spray this Sunday. Walk your property at dusk. Then, come back to this video in 2 weeks and tell us in the comments what happened, your city, your lot size, the temperature that night, and the change in landing rate before and after. The Disney garlic claim may still be attributed. Your back porch is not. The comment section under this video is going to become a field log. Atlanta, Houston, New Orleans, Jacksonville, Charleston, Tampa. Every American zip code where a porch is uninhabitable in August. We will read it. Other viewers will read it. The data that no pesticide company will ever publish will be assembled, slowly, by people who paid $1 to find out.